Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, so I'm sitting here and I am talking to Justin Klement. And Justin, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody listening?
Sure. My name's Justin. Obviously, you just said that, but let's see. Luke and I met,
Almost, I think 4 years ago or 3 years ago now.
Four? Yeah. At the Western Hunting Summit here in Montana. So I'm a construction superintendent, live here in Three Forks outside of the Bozeman area. I married, got 2 dogs.
So tell the truth. You are a Montana transplant, but you're one of the good ones. You moved to Montana to keep it the way it was, right?
Trying. It's growing all around us though. It's crazy. But originally from Oregon, so grew up pretty much on the West Coast. Between Southern Oregon, Southwest Washington, a little bit of time in like the Seattle area. Just once I got older, I realized that I didn't really have to stay there. I was like, it didn't take a lot to convince my wife. We're like, let's get the hell out of here. So, yeah. Anyways, a couple years ago, what was it, 2020, we bought land here, which was lucky because it was before COVID made everything go crazy.
Yeah.
So we got a good deal, got a little chunk of land, and then I moved out and moved into a camper and started building, and it took me about 7.5, 8 months to do the house. I did everything myself.
It was pretty cool. I watched the stories. I was always looking forward to them. A unique concept, right? Container house, which pretty interesting. And I can imagine probably a pretty good cost savings compared to lumber, especially at the time that you were building. Prices skyrocketed.
It was like 300 or 400%. It was just ridiculous, which a lot of people remember that. But yeah, so I never really penciled out how much it would actually save me, lumber versus doing it the way I did, but it was a time saving, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much of the house. 2/3 of the house I didn't have to frame. It was already
pretty cool.
Structurally there.
It's a neat concept. I like the way it looks. It looks pretty cool. I've been ever since I saw you doing that, I've been eyeballing a couple things on Instagram. There's a few pages I follow that have some pretty interesting builds. I think there's one in, I want to say like Ohio or something, that does these Airbnbs somewhere on a river where there's like these bluffs and they build them, but some of them are like 7 container Airbnb, like a condo almost, where it's got like three apartments in it or whatever. That's all Airbnb. Pretty neat stuff. So I've kind of been, and then one of the other ones I saw that was really awesome was they stacked 2 of them like yours, and then they took 2 more and put them on an angle on top, and so then you had like the roof. They made like a real slight pitch, like maybe like a 1 pitch on the roof, and like turned that roof into like a deck. To like it was a watershed, but then it was a deck, and you could go out there and it had handrails on it. And pretty interesting stuff that these people come up with. So, definitely intrigues me.
It was a challenge. That's for damn sure. I started just renting equipment, digging holes, and started working on foundation. Everything. I had help with drywall and electrical roughing, pretty much. Other than that,
I pretty much did everything myself. That's the worst. I think that's like, if you've got somebody that's skilled at doing it versus like me, like I did my basement and where I'm sitting right now, and it took me probably 10 times longer than somebody that knows, how to do it. Just the mudding. It takes me 4 or 5 sanding sessions to get it where I think it looks good. So
Yeah, I know. And like, yeah, so that was the one thing I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll
Yeah,
hang it, but I'm not doing any of the mudding. So,
yeah,
but yeah, anyways, so now we've been out here for almost almost 2 years.
nice.
So, yeah,
How you
loving
liking
it.
it? Loving it?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. I even like it. I even like it when it's cold, man. It's cool. It's just a cool place. It's just relaxing to be, plus we have a pretty sweet view. You can
yes,
see
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I've seen some
four
of the.
four mountain ranges from our spot here, so it's pretty cool when the weather's nice and clear, and springtime's usually the best too,
You ever see any
before all the
elk
fire.
in your valley or no?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. The first winter we had elk coming through the yard, probably like 60 of them, and then they're around, just kind of in the vicinity a lot. I'll see them in the farm fields just down the road or whatever, quite a bit.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and then the first year we had a pretty gnarly stretch of like winter storms in like late December, and it pushed the elk down for a couple of weeks. And then one morning I got up and there was uh 5 wolves out behind the house. And like it was at the point of living here that I was really not certain if I should be shooting a 300 Win Mag that's muzzle broke, you know, zing one past the neighbor's house. But
Tempting
after
though,
talking
isn't
to
it?
him, yeah, well, after talking to him, they were like, "You didn't shoot him?" And I was like, "No, I was afraid of what you guys would say." But now they're like, "Shit, man, if they're here again, start blasting."
Yeah. So
So,
how's that work? Montana issues wolf tags, right? But they're not ready for the grizzly bear yet, or is that in the works?
I fucking hope so, man. Uh, yeah, I've ran into so many of those damn bears over the past couple of years. Um, yeah, but you can get wolf tags. I think you can trap 5 and shoot 5, I believe, as a resident,
Nice. That's a decent
which
amount.
is pretty good. Not quite as good as Idaho having unlimited, but still,
Right.
at least we
So
can.
so let's talk grizzly bears a little bit because over the past couple years you've had some pretty uh, harrowing experiences, and just kind of curious, and I want to hear those stories because I think I think it'd be pretty good for everybody to realize how they should actually be delisted and unprotected and able to hunt.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. So a couple of years ago, I went to Wyoming, through Wyoming General Tag, planned a trip with some buddies that were residents, so we were able to go in the wilderness. And uh, I mean, to make a long story short, like the first full afternoon of like actually hunting, at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was 90 degrees. We're walking across this big open old burn. You can see like, I don't know, probably 1,000 yards either direction. And all of a sudden, just over this hill, I was like, what the hell is that? And I could see 3 blobs moving. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And we look, and sure enough, it's sow cub grizz, just a beefy, just huge bear. I mean, the cubs were probably going to get the boot pretty soon. I was guessing that fall because they were just about full grown. But I mean, they came within 150 yards of us, and they actually acted like we hoped they would. And as soon as they got our wind, they pretty much just boogied. They left the country, which is fantastic. But I think it was the next day I was making a stalk on a bull while Cody, my guy that I was with, was calling. and keeping the bull just talking so I could hear him. And I was working my way up this little tree line, kind of in an open basin. And I got to like, I think it was right around 70 yards, and I had picked out a tree in front of me. And I was like, well, if I can get there, I'll have a like real easy shot if he turns broadside. And just about the time that I ranged the tree in front of me, I went to put my range finder back in my pouch and glanced to my right, and I see a grizzly bear about 20 yards away staring at me with a cub right behind her. And immediately I just started yelling, and I pretty much like threw my bow down, ran back to my pack down the hill, and was just yelling. I was like, quit calling, bear, 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 bear. And uh, my one buddy saw it too. So he started yelling, pulled out his gun as I like raced back to where he was. And as soon as I got to where he was and I turned around, that bear was standing up on the other side of the little ravine, just looking at me, like just trying to decide if it was going to eat me or not. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And so that was the second day. And then I think we had a couple good days of like getting into elk without any bears. And then, oh man, it was, I think we, trying to think of the timeline here, but anyways, another couple days goes by. We fucking run into another one. And then I took a break and came back like 22nd or something like that and hunted for 3 days with my bow again. And then it opened up with a rifle on the 25th. So I was hunting for a few days, saw lots and lots of tracks and sign of grizzly bear, never actually ran into one. And then a buddy came and hunted with me, and we were hiking into new camp that day. And on the trail going in, a big boar grizzly came, and he just was like smelling our tracks and following us. And we had to start yelling at him, and he finally got our wind and took off. But he wasn't very, he didn't really spook. He just kind of took off because we were yelling. I feel like, he didn't act like that other bear with the cubs. And then I think, well, opening day of rifle, the 25th, I killed a bull. So that afternoon, I think I shot him at like 4 or 5 o'clock or something. It's light out till 8-ish that time of year, late September. And so anyways, I killed a bull, nice big 6 point. He dies like on top of a finger ridge in this basin where it's like completely treed and timbered on the, like north side, and then the south side's open with little, brush pockets and little patches of trees. But so he died right on the spine of that little finger ridge. And we got, I don't know, a few bags packed out, hung in camp that night. And then my buddy that I was with that night when we were packing elk out, I don't know, he got sick. Like, I think he had COVID, but he was not in good shape. Kept passing out. He kept passing out in the trail as we're like trying to like haul meat back. And I'm like, dude, you got to take it easy tomorrow. So he helped me get some more meat out up to the truck the next day. And then I drove around to a lower trailhead where I could just like pretty much walk straight flat up a valley and then make one uphill push instead of going up and down and up and down and up and down and then turning around and doing it again. But it made it like a mile longer, which I was okay with. It's easier to go that than it was to cover a mile in the up and down with weight. So my buddy went home after not feeling good for a couple of days. He helped me get, like I said, some meat to the truck. And then I think I packed meat for another day and a half after that. And then, no, probably 2 days. Yeah, 2 days, packed meat. And then on the third day was going in for the last, I think I just had 2 bags left of meat. And I had them hung in a tree about 200 yards up the ridge from the carcass. Pretty much tried everything I could to, you know, take all the precautions I could to try to keep, the distance away from the carcass and avoid any run-ins. And so, anyways, I woke up on that third day, and as soon as it was daylight, I like right before daylight, I started hiking. I get half an hour into the hike, and I start realizing that it's an overcast day. And I was like, man, I'm gonna see a bear today. I just know it. Like,
Just that gloomy, ominous uh, feeling.
yeah, just like it went from like bluebirds, sunny skies, and then all of a sudden it dropped like 20 degrees, and it was all cloudy, a little breezy. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna see a bear today. And so I just kept that in the back of my mind and just kept on my trail. Like, eventually got up there about noonish, started making my way up that finger ridge, and I actually turned like music on my phone, and I was like singing out loud, trying to like stomp on sticks and shit because I just had this feeling that I was gonna run into a bear. And I got like, I think it was about 75 yards from the carcass or so, and I could just hear bones snapping and like woofing, just oh, 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 crack, just yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. So immediately I just grabbed my bear spray and my pistol. I had my bear spray on my chest rig and my pistol on my hip. I grabbed them both out, and
You
by the
mean,
time
hang
I
on, you mean you did not grab your phone to try and video it like other people we
fuck,
know?
fuck, fuck, no.
For the gram, man.
Yeah, no, I was worried about getting out of there with my life at that point
So
because
sorry.
I
Sorry, dude. I had to throw that in there. But
That's
so you
funny.
had your pistol and your and your bear spray out, and then what happened?
Yep. And as soon as I looked back, like, I looked down and grabbed my spray, grabbed my pistol. I look up and I just see nothing but a brown blur coming at me. And so I just extend both arms and I'm just yelling, fuck you, bear. Fuck you. Just like as loud as I can, screaming at the top of my lungs. And she stopped like 30 yards away, maybe a little bit further. And stood up on her hind legs and started clicking her jaws and shit at me. And then her cub came up next to her and stood up. And I was like, Jesus Christ, she's got a cub. This is not good.
So do you think it was the same ones you saw earlier that season or no?
No,
No.
no, because I was in a little bit different area, a couple miles away. I mean, which not like they couldn't cover that ground, but she only had one cub and she
Okay.
was a different color. The other one was much darker. This was like a blonde, almost cinnamon kind of color
Pretty cool.
bear in
Make a nice coat.
her. Oh yeah, she was gorgeous bear, but fuck was she scary. Um, so anyways, yeah, she pretty much did her thing, clicking her jaws, woofing at me, back down, and her and the cub went over the ridge into the timbered side, just on the other side of the carcass. And I was like, okay. So I backed my ass down that ridge and I walked back like a little bit and decided I was going to go try and wrap the canyon or the basin basically and come down that finger ridge from the top side. So like an hour and a half later, whatever, after huffing and up around that fucking basin, I get up there and I start working my way down, and I pull my binos up and I look at the tree where the meat's hanging, and I'm like, son of a bitch, there's only one bag. And I could just see
Oh
like
no.
the drawstring of the other bag. So I was like, well, to me that only means one thing, that they probably found that first, and maybe the cub climbed up the tree and fucking knocked it down or something. Who knows? But I'm assuming that they found that first because there's one meat bag still hanging, and then they found the carcass and just started going to town. But about the same time that I realized that I only had one meat bag, I just started hearing woofing coming again, the same fucking noise. And so like I just kind of dropped my binoculars, same thing, pull out bear spray and my pistol again and just start yelling, and she luckily just bluffed me again. Like she stood up again at like 40 yards, 50 yards, something in there, clicked her jaws and shit. The cub didn't come out that time, or at least not next to her. But yeah, it was,
So two very close encounters in one day.
yeah, it was scary to say the least. Like I was like, fine, it's yours, lady. You can have it. I don't, it's all yours. Like I'm not gonna risk my life over a bag of meat. You can have it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
So
yeah,
then you
it was,
hightail it out of there.
yeah. So then I just, and what's ironic is like on the way out of there in my boot tracks was a fucking grizzly track about like, I don't know, 13 inches long. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. And it was going the opposite way, which means he was headed down to my truck. And I was like, so there's another one I gotta watch out for as I'm running around freaked out with a bloody bag and shit, you know? I'm just like, oh God. So anyways, I finally got out of there and got I still think I got like right about 200 pounds of meat off that bull. He was a big boy.
Hmm, decent amount. Sucks that you didn't get it all, and good thing you got away with your life though, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a scary spot to be in for sure. And then
Yeah.
so you had plans for the following year to utilize different means and methods to try and stay away from the grizzlies, or at least get off the ground from them, right? So how did that end up working out?
Uh, well, I didn't hunt Wyoming wilderness for one.
Okay.
I hunted here in Montana, and in all honesty, I was actually just a whole lot busier, so I didn't spend as much time out there as I did the year before, you know, but I probably spent like 2.5 solid weeks of September out there. And the bears that I did run, I ran into two grizzly bears, and both of them acted like you want them. You know, as soon as they realized I was there, they were gone, different country.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any issues, and I didn't see nearly as much sign. So I'm sure I was probably in like a grizzly infested area in Wyoming. I mean, we were fairly close to the park, so it's not like wasn't a surprise, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I think there's obviously like, you know, more bears there than there is around here, but I didn't have the issues. I kind of picked my camping spots a little better where I don't think they're likely to just venture. You know, I tried to pick like I don't know, spots where I could be cliffed out on one side almost,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, where like at least I know one direction they're gonna come from. But regardless,
Either
I
way,
still
you got to
I
sleep
still
at night,
sleep with,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean I sleep with earplugs anyways, because at this point I'm like, those goddamn things are so big. If they want to rip me out of my tent, there's nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it anyways, especially in the middle of the night if I'm sleeping. So
A nice
I just,
nice white meat burrito
yeah,
right in a
I
sleeping
mean,
bag.
I I highly doubt there's a situation that if the bear really wants to eat me, I'm gonna have time to wake up coherently and shoot him in the middle of the night. Like
It'd have to be, your pistol probably have to be in your hand, you know.
I would think, yeah,
You're definitely going to
like
need to sleep with a round in it, and then at that point, what's to say you're not going to pull the trigger while you're sleeping or whatever? So,
yeah,
so yeah. So did you invest
pop
in
my
like a 10,
sleeping pad.
10 millimeter for that or what?
No, I still just carry my 9. I don't like carrying the weight of the 10, and I don't know.
Oof.
I just bought those big like 250 grain.
Hard
I
casts.
forget them.
250
Yeah,
grain 9 millimeter.
yeah, they're like big bear fucking rounds,
No way.
bear defense rounds.
Really?
Maybe they were smaller. I'll have to dig them out and look again. But
Yeah. Because
yeah, I bought them in Alaska when I was there because I flew with my pistol and then I bought ammunition there.
right.
So because we knew we were in bear country there too. So
Yeah. No, that's something. I have not had any real bear encounters, so that's good. Then again, I don't spend as much time as you do out there, out west. But so what do you think as far as like migration and stuff with the grizzly bears? How long do you think before they'll actually be like back in Colorado? I mean, is that something that's
mm,
realistic?
I think so. I mean, I got family in eastern Montana, and they talk about seeing more and more of them all the time out there in the big wide open plains and shit.
So you're talking like in
And
the
like,
breaks and all that, they're out there.
yeah, they're seeing them out there now. I mean, there was one in the what was it last year? There was one in the Judith Mountains, I think, which is like in Lewistown.
So
I mean, that's
I mean, so if that's the case, there's potential for grizzly bears to eventually end up in, you know, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and slowly work their way down, which I don't have a problem
yeah,
with that. I think that's kind of cool because I've always wanted to hunt a grizzly bear, and hey, if Minnesota opened up a season, it might be easier, a little bit cheaper of a tag than it would be going out west. Because I imagine, even though uh, the whole grizzly bear thing, if it ever did open up to where there was tags, I bet you there's still be going to be quite expensive.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I can't imagine they're going to be any less than $1,000.
Oh, I was thinking more than that. I was like in my head, I was thinking it'd be in like the five to 7,000. Like you're talking like sheep money.
Yeah, I guess
Maybe
it
maybe
depends on
I'm
the
who,
state and
but like
depends on the
especially
state
Colorado.
and residency. But
Colorado
yeah,
would
no shit.
open it up to everybody and gouge you.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's how I see it. So what's like
Yeah.
your plans for this season? Anything good application wise or what?
Um, well, I got lucky and pulled an Idaho tag, so I was able to get that, which was pretty cool.
I didn't even know that Idaho
Um,
already did their online waitlist lottery thing.
oh yeah, back in December, bro. You missed out.
Yeah, I miss out on every. Actually, I even missed the Arizona this year. I was busy, didn't realize, had a reminder set on my phone, and then
Mm,
I ended up getting stuck working and just every night I'd come home tired and forgot. And
damn.
I know, so now I don't have my consecutive years to where you get.
To get your loyalty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now I don't get that extra
Oh,
point.
that's
So so
one more point for me, not
yeah,
you.
I screwed that
Haha.
up, which is okay because I always shoot for the moon there anyway in hopes to just build enough points to where, I could have 7 points or 10 points and get something to where I could just even hunt, right? Um,
Right.
but then
Yeah. I've
I,
gone down there a couple, what, 3 times now on that late elk hunt, which is,
so like late archery or what is it?
yeah, late archery. There's a few units, I think 5 or 6 you can probably draw that are like, I don't know, 2 pointers.
Oh, that's not bad. I could do that.
No. So but they're tough hunts. Like you're hunting bulls in like supreme post rut. So they're all tired, they're lethargic. Like, I didn't get one this year. I missed a real big bastard. Um, on like my third day down there, my rangefinder died when I was sitting in the sun at like 60 yards or so.
That was this year or last year, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this past November. And I mean, conservatively, he was probably a 340 bull. Just like a really nice bull for, especially a tag you can get for 2 points or whatever.
I got to be honest, I'd
Uh,
take a raghorn, man. I still haven't gotten an elk on the ground yet, so
Yeah, you'll get there. Um, but yeah, no, it's a fun hunt because it's like the so in I don't know what year it was, 2019 or something. I killed a pretty nice 5 point down there, and but I watched him and his buddy hang out in like the same 300-yard area for like 3 days before they were finally like underneath the cliffs where I had a place to shoot them. So it was like they're just you'll see a lot of elk, but they're not always in stockable positions because they're in this manzanita brush that's 12 feet tall and you can't see them until you're 3 feet away and they can hear you coming
Yeah.
2 miles away. So yeah, it's definitely a tough hunt, but it's fun. It's really cool. It's nice to get out of here in November and go down there and sit on a rock where it's 70 degrees and
Yep.
look at elk.
Yeah. I just got back from Texas a couple weeks ago where it was 70 degrees and here it was snow and ice and everything. So I
Hmm.
know that feeling. That's definitely a good feeling. Get
Yeah,
the
it
beat the
is.
winter blues, but then you come back to it and you're like, what are we doing? Like why is this still going on? And then
I know.
the week I came back, it was brutal cold. You know, at least it was like in the 40s when I left, and I come back and it was brutal cold the next week. So it kind of
Yeah,
sucked. Yeah.
always. Always.
But so
Welcome back with open arms.
yeah, so you got any other plans? I mean, if you drew, you probably don't have any points then for Arizona other than your loyalty and maybe a hunter safety point or something.
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
So
So I didn't
technically
really
that's two, right? So you could
yeah, I mean I
potentially.
could. I drew it 2 years in a row once. So it's definitely possible. Um but yeah, probably not this year. I don't plan on going down there. I mean, I'm probably just gonna do I don't know. There's so much more of Montana that I can explore, you know.
Yeah.
I'm I'm a half an hour in any direction really from like a different mountain range. And so yeah, there's just a lot I could do that I have lots of time as a resident here. I can
So
hunt.
how's it work for like a resident? Do you still have to put in for a lottery, or is there any to where you can actually do resident over the counter tag?
Oh yeah, it's just resident over the counter.
That's
And then so I can hunt all of September archery and then I can after the 2 week break I can go back out. Well no, September. I That's wrong. Montana's archery season is like 6 weeks long. So you can hunt for 6 weeks, like September 4th till like the October 15th, right in there. And then they take like 2 weeks off and then rifle opens like October 13th ish.
hmm.
So you can go right back into it. Get out of here, cat.
So
But yeah, you can go right back into hunting, elk almost in the same place as they were 2 weeks ago with a rifle. So it's pretty cool.
yeah.
And then if you don't get one with a rifle, you can hunt it the late muzzy season they started. So there's
So
also that.
what's the muzzleloader like restrictions as far as like Colorado is pretty much like primitive muzzleloader. Then you got New Mexico, you can pretty much use anything. Um,
It's like Colorado. Like you gotta have like a flintlock basically.
which it'd be cool to get an elk with that, but I see a lot of
Hell yeah.
limitations there, you know.
Yeah,
Honestly, I feel
I
like you
mean,
could shoot just as far with with a bow, right?
yeah, probably with the same accuracy, you know,
Yeah.
for the most part. When you
So
start getting to like 150 yards with a old flintlock like that, it's like you never know where that thing's gonna go.
have you ever done that? Have you ever killed an elk with like a flintlock like that, muzzleloader type, or no?
Nope,
Have you
nope.
even done muzzleloader hunts?
No, not
Interesting.
really. Nope.
Now you're
In
gonna have
fact,
to
this
try.
year, I know my uncle gave me a flintlock this year, so I'm gonna try that. I think if I still have a tag late in that season, but
So when you say flintlock, you mean like with the dual hammer, right? With like the frizzen pan, the one strikes it and then the
yep,
other one throws the hammer and actually hits the
yep,
powder.
yep.
That's interesting. That would be that would be pretty cool. I mean, that's like Daniel Boone stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the gun itself that he gave me is from the 50s.
Yeah. I
So
know they like
it's
a
pretty
lot of people
old, but
build those kits and stuff like that that you can get that are the muzzleloader kits, which I always thought was
yep.
pretty cool to do like a flintlock
Yeah.
like that.
That's
Yeah.
basically what they require here to do it. So,
So I got to ask you, have you figured out how to make good dehydrated foods yet?
nope. No, I still suck at it. As many
S-
times as I've asked you about it and like tried to do more shit, I don't know what I do. I don't know. I always screw it up and it's always bland
yeah. So
and I'm always pissed off.
so this year I made a whole huge batch of them thinking I had these different hunts and I ended up like not going on hardly any of them. So my freezer's pretty full. So if you need any, I could definitely send some your way.
I might have to. Might have to
Yeah.
hit you up on that. I might have to have you do like a video tutorial too for me
I
because
I need to do that stuff. I haven't done any of that yet. In fact, right before I jumped on here and started recording, I was rendering a bunch of tallow, and so I'm going to do
mm,
a video of me rendering the tallow, and then I'm going to do a video of me utilizing that tallow for making soap and different stuff like that too. So that'll be pretty cool.
nice.
But I couldn't help. So in my head, I've never rendered like pork fat either. Um, and,
Right.
and so I thought to myself, I'm like, well, pork fat is like cracklings, right? And you get like a pork rind with whatever's left over. And so
Mm-hmm.
I nibbled on one of the pieces that was left over from when I rendered down the tallow. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I might have to try and come up with a recipe for this and like salt it and throw it in the air fryer or something and see what happens. Or if you save those pieces and somehow maybe you got some of the fat out of them and then put them in like a freeze dryer. So now they're like real
Right.
crunchy or something. I don't know. There's got to be something there that
That
I'll
might be
come
a
up with, but yeah.
sweet little snack on the hill or something.
Yeah. So the only thing is then you'd have to actually start packing out all your elk tallow and stuff. So it's one extra bag or one extra trip.
Ugh, just what we need.
Well, that's like Lampers for the longest time never used to take the heart because he just didn't want to carry it. But then Hillary started making
Mm-hmm.
him carry it. So yeah,
Yep.
yep. But that's
Because it's too delicious to leave out there.
I don't so like with my whitetails, I don't consume the heart. I just don't. I know a
No?
lot of people are like, "Why don't you?" I don't know, because a lot of times I am hunting in CWD areas, um,
Mm,
and like I just tend to like to consume the meat before I get my test results back. So I don't. Same thing. I quarter them up and pack it out. I'm like, meh, I'll just leave it.
right.
Let the coyotes eat or whatever.
Yeah. It's
Raccoons.
not like it goes to waste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm going to have to start. So
I had a guy I used to work with a while back. He used to ask me to bring him the flipping kidneys.
see, now I can't do the pumps and filters like that. A lot of people
No,
tell
I'm
me.
not. I can't stand the texture of liver.
So
Mm-mm.
I don't like the texture either, but I was told from a forager chef that does a lot of like nose to tail butchery, um, and he's a darn good chef. And what he came up with was that he said soak them, and so like make a brine and soak it, or use it
Hmm.
soak it in like milk and put like season the milk, and then it pulls out all that stuff. Let it sit for like 2 days in the fridge like that, especially like kidneys or like the liver, and you get rid of some of that taste. That's like, well, obviously, especially the kidneys, they have like enzymes and things in them, and it kind of pulls out those
Right.
enzymes. So now you're just left with the actual meat. So
Hmm.
that's one way I guess you could do it, and I guess I need to get brave enough to actually experiment with that. So that may be coming
Yeah.
coming down the
The
pipeline at
only
some point.
the only thing I've done with liver is I'll bring it and I'll slice it up real thin, throw it in the dehydrator for like a day, and then grind it up and put it in pills. So at
Yeah,
least I'm getting like the nutrition.
I guess you're
I saw
supposed
it.
to. The new thing is everybody just squeezes like a lemon on it and eats the raw chunks with breakfast and washes it down with like orange juice or something. because they say the raw
Yeah.
liver has more benefits than like the dehydrated or freeze dried powder.
Yeah, well, good for those people. Not for me.
I have not done
I'm
it.
good. I'm good with the pills. I'm not eating this shit.
Yeah.
I've done it.
So I think if I put in for a bison tag on a reservation this year, and if I get
Hmm.
that tag, I might try and take the liver and do the whole raw bison liver thing just to see what it's all about. I don't know. I don't really care that much for liver. I
Yeah.
remember I ate liver when I was a kid though. Like my mom would make liver and onions and different stuff when I was a real little kid, and I ate it. I
Hmm.
guess I didn't know any better until I got older, and then like somebody told me it was liver, and then I was like, oh wait, what? Now we're eating liver? Gross, you know. But before that, I didn't know. I just some dark meat that tasted really rich, you know.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah. So you don't eat it at all then, or you just do the pills?
Just do the pills with it, and then
Yeah.
sometimes I'll take like some of those strips, and they make good dog treats. Dogs love them.
Have you ever tried making jerky out of it?
Mm, no.
Neither have I. But that's something I'd have to do now. I don't know. Just thought of that.
Yeah. I don't know. The smell of it dried up like that definitely doesn't make you want to
No,
eat
but
it.
if you soak it in a marinade, right? I soak all my jerky in a marinade anyway, so you're
True.
getting that,
Yeah.
whatever sauce, whether it's coconut aminos or soy sauce or whatever you're going for there, you kind of really get
Hmm.
that briny sauce taste to it. So maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Something
Yeah. Might
to,
not be.
something to think about.
You try it and let me know.
All right, I'll do that. I need to start doing a whole like experimental video series, I guess, to where I do all these different weird things. It'd be something good. But so one of the things I've always kind of wanted to talk to you about because you and I have talked about it a little bit, and I've never really got the full story. Although you did tell me how you actually got healed from it, and I know this could be like a
Hmm.
really long thing, but the whole Lyme's disease.
Yeah. It's awful. Um,
Let's talk about like how it started. When you actually realized what it was. I mean, did you know from the time that you found a tick bite? What was it?
no, so let's see. It was 2012. I let's see. I drew a late season deer tag in Washington when I was living over there, and it was for the east side. So, which meant I actually got to go hunt mule deer and did some scouting, found some trails, whatever. Set up a tree stand, and lo and behold, first morning, like hour and a half into my sit, fucking mountain lion walks by my tree stand at like 17 yards. So I shoot it, and then I don't know, 45 minutes goes by after I like got over being freaked out that I just shot a cat and it was laying like 2 trees away.
That's pretty cool.
uh, yeah, so I didn't really know what to do. I gutted it, and then I didn't want to like ruin the pelt because I was like, this is never gonna happen again. I'm not gonna shoot a fucking mountain lion with my bow again, probably. And so I was like, I want to like keep it nice and not mess up, you know, the rug or the pelt or whatever. And so I packed the thing out whole, just gutted it, strapped the damn thing to my pack board, and huffed it out of the woods. And I was pretty pumped, and like my dad came up and met me, and it was just a big thing. And then like I think the next day I got like the pelt taken care of and stuff. Went to and got it sealed at the fish department, game and fish department, and then I came back because obviously I still wanted a deer hunt. I was like, well, I got rid of a cat. Maybe the deer will come around now.
Right.
And fucking, I'm not kidding you when I tell you this. I climbed in that tree stand the next day, and 4 minutes into my sit, a big ass bobcat jumps up on a stump to my right, and I shoot him. So yeah, I shot 2 cats with my bow from the same tree stand in like 2 days, basically. because I didn't hunt the day between. And so anyways, I was pretty pumped like for a couple days, and like I got home after hunting for a couple more days, finally took a shower, realized that I had a tick in my shoulder, but it was all like inflamed. I don't know, back then I had a shitty backpack and didn't know anything about weight management and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. So, my shoulders were pretty chafed up from the straps and all that. And so I didn't even bother to look, but then I was taking a shower and I was like, oh shit, what is this? I got a tick like in my shoulder underneath my backpack strap. And so I pulled it out, didn't think anything of it. And, oh, probably 2 months goes by and I start getting like flu-like symptoms, just like real sick, but it's like not going away. I think it was like a month that I was just like solid sick, just like felt like shit, run down. And then that kind of faded away. And then within 3 or 4 months later, I started having like just like these weird blood rushes where it's kind of hard to explain, but basically what was happening is my blood pressure was spiking. And like at one point, I passed out in my apprenticeship class.
Okay.
And I was taken to the hospital, and my blood pressure was like 210 over 190 or something. And they were like, "You're gonna fucking die." And I was like, I just did like a half marathon like a couple months before that. I was like, I'm in shape. And they're
Right.
like, you're about to die, kid. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so all that kind of kept happening for a few months. They couldn't figure it out. I went on and on with different doctors trying to do this, this and that test. And long story short, I found out like 4 or 5 years later that the doctor that originally, when I went to the doctor thinking I either had trichinosis or Lyme disease because of the tick and the cat meat, I was like, maybe it's that. I don't know. Anyways, I found out that I could still log in to that thing and it still shows pending on that test.
Holy
But he
cow.
told me,
5 years later and the test was still pending? They never
yeah,
actually did the results, or they never actually did draw the blood and test for it?
they did draw the blood and test, but I don't think they ever actually did the test with the blood. And then I was told in a follow up office visit that everything came back negative and normal. And so
Interesting.
I went on with that information for like 2 years, right? So like I just things kept getting progressively worse. Like it went from all that blood pressure stuff to all of a sudden I was having like crazy panic attacks, just like out of the blue. I still kind of have a startle reflex that's like heightened, like
Okay.
way more than most. But like I would get startled by like the stupidest, like a leaf going across my windshield as I'm driving, and they'd throw me into a panic attack. I'd start hyperventilating and crying for like a half an hour,
Wow.
and I would just like basically black out. Like I could kind of understand what's going on, but like it was just one of the weirdest things ever and hard to explain. But um, that started happening, so they started thinking I was having. Basically, they thought I had MS for like a year and a half or something. Was on this medication that turns out didn't really do anything, just kind of retarded my system, so I didn't
Yeah,
feel as
masked a few symptoms maybe, but then caused all kinds of other stuff along with it,
right.
you know?
Exactly. So yeah, that was I don't know how long ago, 6, 7 years ago or something. And then yeah, eventually I just had that shit, that symptoms. Like I got to the point where I wasn't able to sleep. I would fall asleep at like midnight, 12:30, be wide awake at like 3 a.m. and just never slept. And it was awful. It was just, I just felt like shit all the time. And finally got diagnosed correctly by a naturopath. And then got on, I don't know how many antibiotics and pills and protocols and this and that and IV drips and you name it. You name it, dude.
And so with all the IV drips and the antibiotics, I mean, they were trying to kill whatever leftover bacteria that was still like reproducing or something within your bloodstream, or what was the actual?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So like they eventually found and I got positive tests for Lyme disease. And then I also got like two co-infections is what they call them. So like
Okay.
typically you don't always get just Lyme, you get Lyme and like I got Babesia or so, I think. And the particular strain that I got was just happened. So I got paid for like this $1,000 fucking test, right?
Yeah.
Comes back and they can like they look at the specific bacteria and they figure out what strain it is.
So
And the strain,
sorry, but I gotta get this before I lose it. And so when they do this test, like there's multiple different tests that they can do, right? And then there's some that
Mhm.
actually are 100% and they work, and other ones give like false negatives, even though they exist, right? And it's like a simple blood test versus the other one. What do they test? They test for like actual DNA, trace DNA of these bacteria, or something like that,
Yeah,
right? Like it's actual
yeah,
DNA
basically.
of the bacteria, right?
Yeah, they're not so like the typical test you get at like a regular doctor is just basically looking for your body's like
Response to
anti
antigens.
and yeah, antibiotic response.
Okay.
And like so it only really measures it if it's like if you're
Super
I don't know, they
present,
say
right? Not like trace amounts. And they
right,
do that under a microscope versus actually going further than that and actually looking at the DNA itself, right?
right,
Okay.
right. And so anyways, the one expensive test that I got, like it showed the one strain that I did have of that Babesia was discovered in that particular area of Washington in like 1995.
Hmm.
And like I was like 20 miles as a crow flies from that town. And so it all made sense. I was like, holy shit, like I've had this for a long time. And it explains all these weird health problems that I've had that are like just all this crazy shit. And so anyways, all the drugs and the protocols and that stuff, it kind of helped, some things here and there got better. It seemed like it was just kind of up and down for a couple years. And then like I told you, I think before, just randomly out of the blue one time, my dad calls me and he's like, yeah, I got this gal from Venezuela that I work with and she says she can cure you. And I'm like, okay, because at this point I've probably spent $80,000 out of pocket trying to figure out what the fuck's wrong with me and, you know, trying to fix it and all these stuff that the insurance doesn't cover and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, she'll do it for free too, it's whatever it takes. And I'm like, whatever, I'll give it a whirl. And yeah, I go to this Venezuelan gal's studio apartment and she has like a massage table thing set up. And I was like, this is crazy. And she does all these like magnetic tests with your body. And I don't know, dude. I don't know how it works or what happened, but I walked out of there and I've been better ever since.
So what's crazy to me, and I don't know, and so say you had this Lyme's disease for however many years, all these different things. At some point, other than your symptoms from that, you were sick from other things and had other bacterial infections, ear infections, sinus, whatever it may be, right? I'm sure that
Hmm.
happened. And there was probably antibiotics that were given to you for that. And so now you're taking these antibiotics, and it's not a long enough dose to kill the actual Lyme's disease and the bacteria from that. So now
Hmm.
you're making that more resistant by taking these antibiotics over the years, and then they give you
Yep.
a course of treatment that isn't working. I find it so fascinating. The more I dig into all this stuff and listening to people talk about like gut health and different symptoms of that, and so many misdiagnoses to that, and Hashimoto's disease, when it turns out it could
Hmm.
actually be a bacteria in their gut that's mimicking these other symptoms, which is causing inflammation in the thyroid. Just all
Hmm.
these different things add up, and some of them can be treated with simple herbs. Just
Yeah.
just a long term, 7 month approach or 7 weeks, whatever, to herbs, and then it heals you. And to think we've gotten so far away from that, and then something so simple as some lady checking your body's magnetic or I don't, polarity, I guess it would be, with the
Right.
magnetic whatever poles of the earth, and somehow aligning that is fascinating to me. And that modern
Yeah.
medicine
And
cannot diagnose that, cannot fix that. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti, because obviously we would have never fully known if you wouldn't have gotten that test where they actually went further and did further research. So, like, science is
right.
good. Modern medicine and most doctors, I'm going to have to call bad. you know and it's not
Right.
they love to throw things at stuff or call it something, or diagnose it as this because they can't quite figure it out. Like for me, my whole thing is the non-specific ulcerative colitis. Well, what does that mean? Well, we're not exactly sure, but you have some serious inflammation in your gut and we can't figure out why you know
Hmm.
and now I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't even like, obviously there's a link to glyphosate and wheat and people and how it's polluting their body. And then so now your body is like making this association, and it's making the association with the wheat. And it's, oh, this is bad, when really it's just like a high toxicity level of glyphosate. Well, say you live around farm fields and you're having the windows open in the summertime and the breezes are blowing and they're crop dusting those fields, your levels are going to be way higher than somebody else that doesn't live near those fields. So, I
Right.
mean, just all those different things, environmental factors, and so many people don't take that into account, and it drives me nuts. So, it's pretty cool.
Hmm.
I'm glad I got the whole story because I heard the healing portion of it before, and it just kind of fuels that fire for me to learn more. So, hopefully, maybe one day I can maybe take it to the next step and help people or something, because those stories
Right.
always fascinate me. No, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
man.
I'm with you. I mean, I had the head infectious disease doctor of Providence and Portland tell me that I was making it up for attention. So
See,
because clearly he
that's
didn't want to spend time to actually dig into my issues.
and how
And
many times do you think they do that to the point where somebody really is asking for help and then they end up just because they don't want to deal with it anymore and they kill themselves or whatever? I mean,
dude,
that's
I
gotta
was
be,
that close.
yeah.
I was that close for like 2 years
And that
fighting that,
and that is
like
crazy.
because it was so fucking miserable, like everyday existence, and I couldn't sleep, so I couldn't heal. I couldn't get better. It was just a constant, like all the pills and the antibiotics I took just made me feel worse. And then, yeah, it was just awful. It was terrible. And then I had, doctors like that telling me that I'm making it up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I really want to punch you in the face right now,
So what's your
but
treatment plan as far as ticks go now? Like, is there way more preventative measures so you hopefully never have to go through that again? What's that like?
just like I just do avid checks.
You don't treat your
I
clothes with
just
permethrin or anything?
I found that it doesn't make a difference.
Really? So,
Yeah.
like, I
I don't
treat
know
mine
what.
for early season. I treat my clothes. I have, knock on wood, have never had a tick since I started spraying permethrin. But between stories like yours and stories from other people that I know, um, you're like the fifth person, maybe sixth person that I know, personally know, that have gone through something similar to that. And it's
Hmm.
all Lyme's disease. And it's like,
Yeah.
how is this not? And so the same thing, they tested. another guy I know in Minnesota, they tested him like twice, and both times said, no, you don't have Lyme's disease, and he was having all kinds of crazy health symptoms. And then finally, I think
Hmm.
he got the same test as you, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you do? Let's start treating it. And so now his routine, he fills up like a Rubbermaid tub, and he doesn't hunt, but he goes foraging a lot. So in the spring and in the
Hmm.
summer, especially early summer, he's got just Rubbermaid tubs that he fills up, puts the permethrin in them, and like puts rubber gloves on and soaks those clothes in it to like fully permeate the fabric, and then hangs them and
Wow.
dries them. And I mean, it freaked him out, right? He doesn't ever want to have to go through that again. And honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
do you think you're strong enough to go through it again if you had to suffer that long? I mean,
Fuck. I don't know.
so between
I don't
hearing all those
know.
stories, I spray my clothes. I use Sawyer permethrin. I douse my clothes in them to where like they're saturated. I hang them. I let
Right.
them dry. I do that every year before season, and then sometimes even in the spring I'll do it too if I plan on doing turkey hunting, whatever. I do it again just because I don't want to go through that. I've heard enough stories to where it doesn't sound good to me.
No,
you,
it's
you
not.
know, and
I don't. I
I've gone
don't
through my own
wish it
health
on
problems, but
anybody.
nothing like
Right.
that. So I can only imagine the frustration, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For a long time, where you just. I mean, there was so much time where I just didn't know if I was ever going to get better.
Yeah.
And like the damage to my nervous system now is still kind of whack. Like my the left side of my body is like completely different. It's my feet and my hands tingle, and like I don't feel pain as much in my left side anymore. Like I shot myself in the hand with a fucking nail gun this summer, and I just like ripped it out with pliers, and it was, you know,
You're
but
never
it's
supposed to rip it out. And I know carpenters, I've been on the job site, I've seen it happen a million times, right? Like they're just like, oh, rip it out and go back to work. But you're never supposed to rip it out. I mean, it's different when it's on
you
your
know,
fingers, but in other spots, like definitely don't rip it out, especially like when you get in the leg. You
yeah,
need
it
to,
was
yeah,
that little dot right there
yeah.
went right in there and popped out there, so it was like,
Oh, right through the meat. At least you didn't hit
yeah,
bone. You know, there's always
nope,
pluses. I went through my
got lucky.
fingertip once and actually
Hmm.
it was in the fingernail. That one sucked pulling out.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that sucked about these ones was they were ring shank nails, so it really kind of hurt coming out.
Don't, yeah. I'm an idiot. Pretty uncoordinated. I'll admit that. Like, somehow I still manage to get things done, but I kind of fumble a little bit. It doesn't always look the most graceful, but I can do it, whatever it is. And I've got, I kind of almost hate to admit this, but I'll admit it. I've got an X-ray, and it's a 3.5 ring shank nail,
Hmm.
and it's through my boot, and you can see my toe, my big toe, with it, and the ring shank through it in my boot. I've kept that thing for
Oh,
like 18 years now. And I always said I was going to make a shadow box for it to where you could like turn the light bulb on behind it and see it. And I've never done it yet, but I've still got it.
oh, there we go. That's funny.
I still got it. My wife goes, "What are you going to do with that thing?" I was like, "I don't know. Maybe one day I'll put it on the wall." But yeah, I've still got the
There you
X-ray.
go.
Yeah, it was
Frame it.
that was the worst probably I've ever done. So I
Yep,
had to
yep.
take the cat's paw and pull it because it was actually stuck from my boot into the floor joist, like way out. so
Oh man,
so that was a bad one. But man, it's been good. I just admitted that I'm a complete idiot.
that's
And
all good. We all
yeah,
do dumb things.
yeah. But it's good having you on, talking to you. If somebody did want to like find your social, see some stuff that you have actually wrote, stuff like that, where would they find you, man?
Yeah, so I've written some articles. Most of them are on gohunt.com. It's been a while, but yeah, if you just go on their website and type in my name, Justin Klement, it should pop up. And I had the Lyme disease story that I wrote that's in there too. If people want to read that. And then yeah, I just have Instagram as JDK4387. But yeah, other than that,
All
I
right,
don't
man.
post too much.
Yeah,
But
but when you do, normally it's a nice animal. So I
well, I
appreciate
appreciate
it,
that.
and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.